Overwhelmed with online, or just wanting to learn more about how you can build a successful business amidst all of the self-appointed gurus, big buzzwords and empty promises? The Breaking Digital podcast by Doyle Bueller tells you exactly what smart entrepreneurs need to know to escape the clutter, get clear of the confusion, and pass the bullshit of building and growing a successful business online. It's about digital leadership and delivering the best value for your business online to your audience. Now, here's your host and author of the book on digital leadership and online marketing, The Digital Delusion, Doyle Bueller.
Hello and welcome to Breaking Digital, the podcast for smart entrepreneurs wanting to become true digital leaders in their industry and to own online. I'm Doyle Bueller, and I am so excited to be bringing you a special guest today. I'm really looking forward to helping you learn more about what you can be doing online and helping you to do it better. And if you have any comments throughout the program, please feel free to connect on Twitter at Doyle Bueller with the hashtag #OwnOnline. You can also find the resources that we talk about, as well as the podcast for download on iTunes or thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. All right, let's get started. Hello and welcome back. This is Doyle Bueller from Breaking Digital, the digital podcast for entrepreneurs online. Today I've got an amazing guest from Canada, actually from Montreal, and where he's going to be talking about what he's doing with Garage, which is a massive, massive clothing brand across Canada and I believe into other countries as well. So Nico will be able to help fill us in with those details. So I'm coming to you, and we're really enjoying talking with you, Nico. How are you today?
I'm great, Doyle. How are you today?
Yeah, fine, thanks. So Nico, can you tell me a bit about what you're doing in the digital space?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, I work for Garage, which is a Canadian retailer. I'm sort of head up their social content and digital strategies, and as a retailer in today's world that targets mainly millennials or even Gen X, Gen Y. We kind of have a tough time ahead of us in terms of digital space. So leading this strategy is sort of part of my mandate over here. You mentioned before Garage was a large company, a large retail. We're mainly known for being across Canada. However, we have over 50 stores in the US, and we have almost 40 stores in the Middle East, including Dubai, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait.
Oh, fantastic. So that's a huge market then. So did the Garage start in Canada, or it's kind of landed here, or?
It's a Montreal company. We celebrated 40 years last year, actually. So I'm still in the office, which has obviously been expanded, but where the company did start.
Okay, excellent. And so there's a lot of competitive forces, I guess, in the retailer, and then transcending into the digital. How are you guys sort of managing that transition between the two?
Well, obviously, Garage started off as brick and mortar, grew as brick and mortar, got their branding well known in Canada that way. But as we expanded to the US, obviously, a digital space helps us first and foremost with branding as a brand that's not very well known up against big competitors like Forever 21 and H&M, American Eagle, places like that. So the digital space has allowed us to reach a large portion of our demographic in ways we couldn't in the past if we were just opening stores in malls and certain large American suburbs. So in the past couple of years, I've been here for 3 now, we sort of put a lot more resources and shifted our attention towards a multi-tiered, digital approach, using all the channels that we have in front of us, including social, including email, having our website being a better space for shoppers, as well as creating a blog for content. So essentially, we're trying to manage all of those different channels to help in different efforts that we have, whether it be a store opening, whether it be a new collection being released, or whether it's just being just branding and some of the initiatives that maybe I'll speak to you about a bit later that we do to get more engagement on our channels.
Yeah, no, for sure. And how are you finding it? Is it a big challenge? Is it tough? Is it easy?
It's very tough because you're up against these well-established brands. Especially retail brands that, they have for example, someone like Hollister, Forever 21 will have 13, 15 million fans on their social channels compared to us. So in terms of the overall reach and branding, it's very difficult for us. However, because we sort of adopted a lot more of these modern digital tools, probably before a lot of our larger competitors, we find ourselves competing with them anyways in certain ways in terms of strategically reaching the right customer. We've really adopted, especially the social channels, and really putting a lot of efforts and resources into social advertising and using all the different demographics and tools that we can target people that way. So I feel, yes, it's been very difficult for us to get a more branding standpoint in terms of maybe our brick and mortar stores, but as we move along to try to get us branded online, we're doing a pretty good job considering our size.
Yeah. And so would you say that you're doing better than some of your competitors, or is it a pretty level playing field?
Well, in a lot of ways, we are doing better. If you look at some of the metrics that we look at in terms of, what's the best return for us, or what we categorize as actually wins or successes for us, we are doing better than most of our competitors. One of those metrics would be online engagement with our social channels. We have, in some cases, 2-3 times higher engagement rates than a lot of our competitors. So for us, that's a good metric and a sort of a win, because it allows us to show that people are engaged with our brand, whether it be still a smaller group of people, there's still lots of engagement. And we've noticed that engagement does transcend into eventual sales.
And well, that's actually brings up a good point, and perhaps you can address that too, Nico. Is the sort of that gap, the digital gap between sort of that online side and then where people go and purchase stuff in the retail environment. How do you kind of measure that? How do you sort of measure a successful campaign, or what tools do you kind of use to say, oh yeah, what we did was actually helpful to get people into the store where they spent their money?
Okay, well, we do use a lot of tools for that. Just to give you a bit of maybe background on who our customer is. So essentially, Garage sells ideally to, we'll say a 14, 15-year-old girl up to maybe at the highest end, maybe a 25-year-old girl. But mainly our main demographic is that teenage, 15 to 19. So already, if you look at that demographic in terms of online spending, they're not spending as much online because they probably don't have a credit card yet or don't have the resources to do that, which shows us that about 80% of the Garage customers still shops in stores, whereas 20% would be an online shopper and a store shopper. So with that in the back of our mind, we have to sort of set distinct goals in terms of what we see as wins, what we see as a success. It's not always going to be an online sale that will dictate the success of a certain campaign. So what we've been doing a lot in the past year is trying to create sort of an omni-channel strategy where you can look at all the different touch points that our client is shopping at, whether it be, browsing a Facebook album, looking at our Instagram feed, maybe going on our website to browse new collection, or even being in store. So we look at all the different touch points, and we're actually implementing a loyalty program later on this year, which is the aim of it is to identify who this customer is, follow her, kind of look at what she's doing, what's her attitudes, and her different ways of shopping at these different touch points, and creating a persona for her, which then we can then retarget and get a lot of data on that. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking at all the different touch points. We're getting as much data as we can from these different touch points. We're trying to, make links between all of them, and create that sort of 360 for our customer. And that's where we sort of see our success lying in.
Yeah, no, fascinating. Do you find that developing sort of that customer set, the millennials, that sort of thing, they're kind of all over the place, kind of like herding cats,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term. We've heard that, they're just leaving Facebook in droves and going to other things like Snapchat. Like, how do you keep up with what they're doing and sort of being able to build that engagement?
Well, yeah, we obviously, Snapchat is probably, I would say, our number one, if not number two, behind Instagram of our social channels today to engage with our customers. So yes, we definitely have to follow where our customers are going to be. That said, you're always fighting with that. Okay, well, yes, we're on Snapchat. I guess we know that our customers on Snapchat, but how do you really know that what we're doing, the efforts, the money, the time we're spending on there is actually bringing us some sort of return? And that's sort of, today, especially with Snapchat, and you don't really know. I can tell you that X amount of people are snapping us or reading our snaps, things like that. The sales, well, we don't know. However, that's where we could have separated our strategy now. So we have to realize that, the millennials, the Gen Ys, they're spending most of their time on their mobile device. We notice that through traffic coming to our site, it skews towards mobile every month more and more. They're on apps all the time. They make up the mass of the demographics on Snapchat, on Instagram. So we know that our customer is there. So that in itself already gives us the momentum to sort of put some resources into that. But then we do have to find ways to sort of track that. So we do implement small little strategies here and there to sort of to test and see how that's working. We may throw promotions once in a while up there, but in a more organic way, not an in-your-face type promotion. We may do a lot of different, very, very targeted advertising that will be survey-based or product-based to get a sort of a view of what they're seeing, what they're thinking about our brand. So essentially, and I think the basis of our strategy is that when you are on these social channels, it's easy for a customer to unlike you or unfollow you, just to follow you. Sometimes it's even easier. We kind of want to make sure that we're putting out content that really appeals to them. And that content is not going to be the same on your website, on your blog, on Instagram, on Snapchat. It's going to be completely different content. And I think that's our strength, is to sort of evaluate which content works best for us. And then we go back to, again, how much engagement we get on that. And we do notice that on certain content, certain initiatives that we get high engagement, there is a spike in sales on that certain product, whether it be in store or online.
And so what kind of content do you feel is working well for your persona, for your audience?
Okay, so people are always talking about content today, and I'm a big proponent of that. Of sort of saying content obviously is what is going to appeal best to this demographic, definitely. And for us, so depending on where we are, what channel we are, different content works. However, a big basis right now of what we're doing, and it leads one of our biggest initiatives, which is going on right now in the summer, is to use UCG or UGC, so user generated content, which we really love to use, and we notice that to our customer, that type of content is what works the best, and that is coupled also with influencer content. So anything that is authentic, original, looks less branded, obviously sounds and works way better for our customers. So a large part of our social strategy is to source out these UGC content. So we create specific hashtags and we post specific things. We love to repost certain fans. We'll use store employees to repost. And we notice that by doing that, we get a lot more engagement. And we also get people to create an affinity with their brand, where now they want to be shown on our Instagram page. They'd love to have their 3 seconds of glory on our page. So that is something that works very, very well. And then on the other side, I mentioned influence is extremely important. A large part, over half of our social strategy today is based on working with influencers. Now, when I say working with influencers, a lot of people are doing that today, and it's becoming part of the norm of any social strategy. However, since the beginning, we've worked in a slightly different way than most people do. We're not just going to hand over X amount of dollars to a YouTuber and have her do a promoted post and showing a couple products, a couple pairs of pants, a couple jeans, and that's it. See, for us, we sort of see working with influencers in a much more closer way, more of a collaboration, where at first go, we'll even get the influencer to propose how he or she could actually work with our brand. What can you bring to our brand as much as we can bring back to you? And we love to work on a basis of experiences. So our largest strategy, our largest, project we're working on is that Garage goes to between 7 and 8 music festivals across North America over the summer. So we kicked it off at Coachella in April, and now we've got a couple festivals coming up this summer. What we do is we bring influencers with us, very key, specific influencers. They don't have to be fashion. They could be working. They could be a musician. They could be, it could be a fashion blogger. They can be an artist. Anyone that really has a large engagement with the very precise demographic that is our customer. We take them to these festivals. They wear Garage, and we let them just go out and just document the entire festival, how much fun they're having. They'll be doing Snapchat takeovers, posting on Instagram, giving us videos after the fact, helping us write blog posts. So we feel that giving an experience working with an influencer that way, it's more of a seamless way, is much less promotional, and it has given us a lot of lift in terms of growth of our social channels, in terms of engagement we're getting, and specifically as we target key American areas where we're doing new store openings, it's giving us that leverage by having a well-respected influencers talk about our brand.
That's a pretty in-depth program, and you're finding you're getting good results from that?
We're doing good. Yeah, we've been doing it. This is our third year doing it, and it's pretty much now been ingrained into our yearly social strat.
So it's more than sort of just sponsorship per se. It's really sounding more like a partnership where
Yes.
you're queuing in those key influencers to help grow that market.
Exactly. Because I look at it in a certain way where it has to be much more fun and more interesting for an influencer to work with a brand and get something out of that as well. If a brand is just going to drop dollars on an influencer to name drop their name, I don't really see the worth of the influencer apart from financially getting something out of that. We offer the influencer something that's a bit more authentic, and we notice that a lot of our fans migrate over and start following this influencer as well. So it's kind of a win-win situation for both of us, and it creates long-lasting relationships. Even today, we still have relationships. We still influencers that we worked with 3 years ago.
Yeah. Do you find that you do get some negative kickback though from using influencers? Because that's been sort of one of those points that people don't really want to be marketed to directly.
To be honest, not really. We've got a lot more feedback negative feedback, I guess, by doing targeted Facebook ads or targeted Instagram video ads, things like that, where the customer realizes that ad is in the news feed because we know X amount of data about her. So on the term the influencer side, it's a bit more seamless, and I'm maybe today the customer is getting a bit more wise, but I think in the past couple of years, I would say 50% didn't necessarily know it was a collaboration or a partnership. They may have just thought that their influencer just liked the clothes. So we really had no negative feedback on that at all.
Yeah. Okay. Do you see that progressing sort of as a really strong marketing trend as well as using more influencers?
It is the trend in the retail world. There's quickly top of my head, there are none of our competitors and no other the larger retail brands that do not use influencers. It's across the board. It's part of that strategy. However, because it's become much more common. Like you mentioned, it is getting a lot more promotional. People are wising up to the fact that this influencer is working with the brand. So which is why we keep trying to push to find new ways to do it in a more seamless way. At the end of the day, really, people just want to see more authentic things on their feed. It doesn't help when Instagram opens up the floodgates for advertising, and now any mom and pop store at the corner can throw an ad up on there. It kind of removes some of that creative feel that Instagram had, the little cachet they had. But I think if we evolve and we try to find new ways as these new social channels come up to use influencers in a much more organic way, I don't see much pushback at all. But I think right now it's probably the perfect time to talk about this because, like I mentioned, everyone is using influencers. A lot of them are using the same influencers. So one day you'll have someone on a Forever 21 pushing their clothes, and they're pushing H&M the next day. So,
oh, really? That's okay in the industry?
Well, for us, we make sure that doesn't happen, or at least not in a short period of time. We try to, like I said, try to have more of like a partnership or a relationship with these bloggers, and we've got some ideas coming up this summer that we haven't tried yet that we're going to be implementing, and there's sort of new ways again to use that content that they're posting in a different way. So I think if we keep innovating and you keep trying to interest the influencers while always creating that content that your fans will always see as not as promotional as an ad, I think you can succeed.
One of the things that happens obviously with digital marketing is that you're sort of curating content as well.
Yes.
With something as fast paced as retail clothing brands for young women, young girls, the time frame is pretty short. Do you actually find that you're able to reuse some content, or it's just kind of one off and go on to the next?
We definitely reuse content. Our content strategy is not based on our clothes. It's more based on the lifestyle that our customer lives. So a lot of our photos on our Instagram account really show a bit more of that lifestyle, a bit more of energy, a bit more, what a 15 or 16-year-old girl will be doing on her spare time kind of thing. Yes, of course, our clothes is often involved in these, but we don't necessarily, focus on that. So, for example, yeah, in fast fashion, they're coming out with new styles and new pairs of jeans very, very often. But I mean, if we post a photo on Instagram that shows a girl in a pair of our jeans, whether it's one that came out last week or one coming out in a month from now, doing something that's exciting, that's fun, she's at a music festival enjoying herself with her friends, that photo for us really describes more of that feeling of what our customer, wants. So she'll say, well, they're wearing garage jeans. Doesn't matter which one they are. I'm going to go check out whatever the newest one is when I go back to their store. So I think, yes, at certain points, we're not using the same content, but because of our approach in terms of really creating that atmosphere, that sort of lifestyle, I find ourselves with a lot of content, especially going back to the UGC again. I think we've done a good job in educating our customer in terms of what kind of photos she should be sharing for us to repost. And now we're really at a position now where we don't have too much content, but we do have enough sufficient high quality content.
Well, that's good. And as long as you're sort of finding that pathway that works for content, as it's such a huge area. You
right.
mentioned earlier that you use a blog, and I was actually quite surprised because with your market, with the proliferation of mobile phones and cell phones and that kind of stuff, what do you use the blog for?
Okay, so we started the blog 2 years ago, maybe a bit less than that. So essentially the blog is there for, a couple purposes. I guess first and foremost is sort of the hub of our content strategy. So the blog allows us to take the small ideas you may find on Instagram and that one photo you post and just develop them to a larger idea. It allows us to, give a little bit more product knowledge to our customers. Come out with X amount of styles of jeans, from the mom jean to low waisted to high waist. So some people just don't know how to wear them. So it allows us to post extra content on how would you wear the high waist jean, what would you wear with it, and that all of this content links back to our transactional e-commerce site, of course. And on the SEO side of things, it allows our site, because our blog is linked to our site, to push out more content. So we have more new, fresh content, which helps us with getting a lot of organic traffic to our blog and then to our website. As well, back to that lifestyle piece, our blog allows us to sit to create content that lives there, that takes different parts of our customer's life. So we'll do Music Mondays, we'll do profiles on bands that she listens to. We'll talk about celebrities. What's the new trend at the Kardashians? What's Kylie Jenner doing today? Things like that we know through a lot of research and data that we have, that these are things that appeals to our customer. We can then come back and create some of our own content to sort of, either she spends a bit more time with us, or we become, not just a clothing company, but someone who can help them, in sort of their everyday life.
Their lifestyle.
It's really important for us that way, and it's worked very well, getting a lot of views. And I have a team of 2 people who are just full-time content writers for us.
And what is Kylie Jenner doing today?
She's probably doing her nails today. That's probably what it is. It'll probably be some sort of silver dark red.
Yeah. So your overall digital strategy sounds really very solid. Has it been an evolution over time? Is it something that you inherited, or what did you add to it to sort of build that strong foundation of a digital strategy?
Well, when I arrived 3 years ago, they didn't really have a digital strategy. Even their transactional site had been live for maybe 3 years, I'm going to say, so not very long. Garage was at its foremost brick and mortar store. So when I came in, it was more about sort of seeing what state of affairs they were in. At the same time, this is when all the social channels became huge. So it was really at the perfect moment where, okay, Instagram just got launched, our customers there, what can we do? And very, very, very fast, I sort of developed this quick social only strategy. which then developed into, incorporating a blog and incorporating our e-commerce site, and, having, SEO and having like keyword optimization part of the daily talks of the company now, not having things in silos as it used to be. There was obviously some pushback because of the nature of the business, the 35 years of being in store only sales. However, the company did do a very good job in prioritizing the fact that our customers online, our customers
Yeah.
on mobile, customers on social.
Well,
So
even in defining that value, right? Because what were
yes,
they expecting? A return on investment.
that's right.
Nico, how do we get a return on investment on digital? Tell me, please. They keep talking about this Facebook thing and Instagram something.
I've heard those exact words about 1,000 times in the first couple of years here. Of course,
Yeah.
there's always a new channel, and they think that. And it took a while, I'll be admit, and I think this is a challenge that everyone will have, starting off something new like this in a company that, the return on investment is not necessarily immediate. It's not necessarily financial. It'll come sort of later on. I think one of the things that we've really learned to develop here to sort of show that, to convince people that, is that we look at, monthly, 6 month, and 12-month forecasts in terms of the value of a customer. So we've sort of come down with a dollar value in terms of what an email will cost, or what a Facebook fan is worth, or what an Instagram fan is worth, and then we kind of break that down by saying, okay, in a 6 month period, how many times and what dollar amount will an Instagram fan buy, and how much in a 12-year period. So then by doing that, you can sort of show, okay, well, we're spending X amount of dollars right now to acquire fans or to acquire email addresses, but in the long run, the 6-12 months, we're going to, get a 2 or 3 times return on that. So by spreading that out and sort of showing a dollar value, I think it's helped us a lot to sort of keep pushing forward and kind of being leading in terms of digital strategy. And like I mentioned, we're creating a loyalty program, which is launching this fall, along with iOS, Android apps. And I think that will be sort of the final piece that was missing, in that 360, to sort of bring things together for our customer and for us in terms of data.
Yeah, no, fascinating. So the community seems to be just a massive part of this, that sort of digital native, the digital side of things for growing that persona, growing that audience.
That's right. Yeah.
Where do you think digital is headed then for retailers?
If retailers don't adapt or change to a more digital strategy, a lot of them are going to be failing as they are right now. The state of retail today is pretty dire in some areas. It's coupled with a lot of different things. The weather has been pretty wonky, but at the same time, people are online on their phone, and I think that retailers who haven't adopted, who have jumped to the digital space, won't be doing well. I think moving forward, where I see it going, we don't know. I would suspect that a lot more sales will be done off mobile phones. It's becoming easier and easier to pay with everything from the credit card to bitcoins to different types of currencies now. So I think that as we move towards that, and the ease of being able to spend, to browse, coupled with the fact that the world is becoming more and more online, there's Wi-Fi, there's internet almost everywhere now, and big companies like Facebook and Google are helping with that. I think that moving forward, it's going to be sort of the one avenue where most people will be doing their shopping. However, I don't see an end to brick and mortar stores. I just see it as mobile as being a tool towards that. On our side, we've noticed that we get a lot of visits, a lot of views on our website, but the sales don't seem to always add up. However, store sales fluctuate up and down, and there is a correlation with traffic on our website. So people love to browse, to look at what's offered on a mobile device online. But some people still like the experience of going into a store, and shopping that way, especially when you're talking retail, when you have to try things on. So I think that, like, in terms of mobile, in terms of online, the shift is more in that branding sense. It just allows you to reach out to your customer and to, lookalikes of your customer. So as a brand who really knows who their customer is, who really knows the bread and butter of like their business, and this is the type of person that loves to buy our jeans. There are numerous ways now to find that person, engage with that person, get that person, loving your brand, giving them more awareness who you are. And I think that that's where this whole thing is headed to, in terms of that way. So it's pretty much for me a large branding exercise, and cutting through all that noise and serving the right person at the end of the day, the right type of content that they want to see. I think you could agree with me that we're bombarded with advertising all the time, and I'm sure you can agree as well that you probably don't like a lot of it. Sometimes you wonder, like, why is this ad, in my face, or why am I getting so many advertising? It's getting to be really difficult for people to navigate through that. So I think that as we get smarter in terms of branding, and people start realizing that content is more important than just throwing up a 30% off promo in people's faces, I think that's going to evolve into that direction. And I hope it does.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of that stuff, that sort of fluff advertising where it's discount this and discount that, it's like, that's not real brand building, right? Yep. That's just simply offering a promotion, which, yeah, okay, that's going to work sometimes. But if you want sort of that fundamental strategy of building that community, understanding your audience and your persona, like, you have to have a little bit more depth than that.
Exactly. You want your customer to have a good experience at the end of the day. I visualize a way, and this is something that's not far-fetched, and it's actually in our plans here, that a girl will walk into one of our stores one day, and we'll give her a push notification through her app on her phone and be like, hey, Jessica, you love jeans or something like that, based on her prior purchases, and we have a new style of mom jean which you love, and yeah, we have your size, try it on right now, or something like that. A point where now we can speak to an individual customer based on her individual needs and her preferences. And I think that is extremely important for us as we move forward, is to look at that. You're no longer throwing a net over millions of people. We're at the point where we can, target singular people based on what they want. And I think if you create that, and you create that experience for your customer, that's where you're going to sort of succeed. And only through online and through social and through all this data we're getting can you actually do that.
Yeah. So using that data in sort of a way that sort of doesn't, we have to use it for good too, right? And it has to be in tune with what the customer is expecting and that sort of thing too. So there's probably an adaptation or an evolution of that as well. Yeah, because I imagine the first time somebody got that ad, they'd go, who's stalking me?
Yes.
Right. So it's kind of, but if you're building that into the community to say, hey, this is what we're doing, being transparent, look forward to something where it can actually help you. It can get you that piece that's on trend, or whatever the case may be.
Every person has different needs. So to be able to look at every person's needs and cater to them and their own needs is a big tool for us.
It is, yeah. But going back to the retail side of things, and I just sort of want to, again, sort of paint that whole picture. How do you transition people from the retail location to that digital space?
Well, for us, the first, I guess the first piece to that was we educated our current employees, our store employees. So, Garage we're at over 700 employees in the office. So we have thousands of employees in our stores, which are on a regular basis, interacting with their customer. So I think the first was to educate our employees on how we're using digital channels, and to extend that to how is your customer using digital channels, and then how can you use digital channels that we're providing you with to help the customer. So we created an internal program for our employees that was really about social, mobility, really getting them out there and learning. We spent a bit of resources doing this, and we noticed that was a great first piece. So now we have not only, me and the social team here sitting down talking about what we're doing as Garage. We have all of our employees now out there who know what we're doing, who are contributing with content now to help us. That was the first big piece, and that extended over to education across the office as well. But then in terms of just sheer facts, it became very easy. You look at the amount of users and the amount of engagement you have on these channels, and it's an opportunity you just can't miss. You can try to, it's like we were talking about here. You could go try to go fish in the ocean for sharks or for whatever you may want in a certain region where you know they're not there, you're never going to catch them. But if you go to a place that you know they're going to be, you obviously have more chance of doing that. So for us, it was just very clear that our customer is here. She's in the store, but she's also online. So what we did after the whole point of activating our employees, we started slowly showing our customers in store why we were online. But we weren't just throwing up, all the icons. How many times have we gone through a store or any place and they have a wall littered with all their social icons on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and half the time the Twitter, the old logo still.
Yeah, that's the most annoying part. It's like, here, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. It's like, okay, yeah, so what?
Yes, exactly. And what are you going to do? You can't click on that icon if it's on the wall and on your phone, right? You still got to search for it. So for us, instead of just plastering all their stuff with these icons, we slowly integrated them by telling our client, okay, maybe this month or this initiative is talking about Instagram. So Garage is on Instagram because this is why you should come follow us. This is what we can give you. So by showing her that, Instagram is good for new trends, new styles, how to wear certain clothes. You like our jeans, don't know what top to wear with it? Well, Instagram will show you how. Have to see your friends, see yourself, see your influencers. They're all on an Instagram account. So by doing that, you slowly educated people on each different channel. Like, I'm well aware that most of our customers don't follow us on Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, Snapchat, Facebook. Like, they just don't do that. People have their channels of preference, and I'm not going to be able to change that as a singular brand. But by educating them and showing them why we're there, that really brought a lot of growth to our channels from people in store who had no idea we were even on there. Oh my God, you guys are on Snapchat? Oh, great. So what we did is we put our snap code in all of our dressing rooms. So every garage store now and every single dressing room has a snap code there, so she can go in there. We know she's taking photos in the dressing room all the time, her clothes. I see them every day. By having that snap code there, she knows what that is. She definitely understands. She'll add us right away, and then our growth tripled in the first month after we did that in our stores. That's
really cool. Yeah, fantastic way to bridge that gap. And I've yet to see one of those in the male change room, but I'm sure they'll come one day.
Males probably don't take as many selfies in the change room, though.
Yeah, true. Okay, yeah, sorry. Speak for yourself.
Yeah, okay.
We're going to be wrapping up pretty soon, but how big a game is Garage? You mentioned there's a number of stores in Canada. Just stats wise, how big are you guys?
Okay, so yeah, we're nearing 300 stores. So that'd be in North America as well as in the Middle East. We are expanding. We're opening our first 3 stores in California in June, which is a huge feat for us. It's a big market. And we also have plans to expand into Europe in the next couple of years as well.
Okay. And when you coming to Australia? Mate?
We have fans there. We definitely do. It's not in the immediate sort of sphere. It's probably further down the line, but it's definitely an expansion as we sort of. We're going through a sort of a change now as well in terms of branding, in terms of defining our customer. What is our store going to look like for the 2017, 2018, 2020s? What does a customer want to see? So we've changed our store designs. So as we do that, we are still pushing and still evolving across different countries. So I would say that in today's retail world, for a brick and mortar company, there's still a lot of growth happening with the company. So.
So what would you suggest then to maybe not a competitor, but what has sort of been the best result that you could say that you've gotten from digital?
Well, I guess for us, mainly it would be just having that more authentic content. You have to sort of know who you are as a brand, and you have to know who your customer is as a brand. And once you have that, then you can sort of, push out that right content for you. And always keep in mind, like, it's not necessarily about just driving your sales all the time. Like, I can tell you the three tips that I sort of preach here in terms of what we base ourselves on, is that we always want to have new content. You want something new that comes out all the time that's going to engage your fans. Whether it be videos or photos. And as a side note, video is the way to go right now in terms of content. Any brand should be creating video content ASAP for that. But definitely that newness engagement of content is big for us too. And then maybe the second thing that we do is maybe splitting up a bit in terms of who our shopper is and why they're using these apps. Again, always driving promotions and sales is not necessarily what a 17-year-old, 15-year-old girl wants to see. She just wants to have some fun online. She's using, at its core, social media to, chat with her friends, share who she is, show off content, calculate the likes, amount to how many views she gets on Snapchat. So if you know that she's doing that, you have to insert yourself in that conversation, but in a very authentic way, by giving her something more or giving her something that she feels she needs and not just being in her way. So that's sort of like two of the main pillars that we look at in terms of social. And finally, I guess we look at, back again to sort of the ROI we spoke to before. If you're gonna be on social media, you're just gonna try to compare apples to apples and say, well, an Instagram fan or putting X amount of dollars into an Instagram campaign should give me back the same, if not more, return in the next week, then you're wrong. But I think that really looking at how you're pushing out that strategy and what your end game result is. An email address, I could tell you, is worth a lot more than most people think. So it's worth investing into those type of things instead of maybe pushing out just content because you want to be on Facebook and you want to be on Instagram.
Some fantastic tips for the businesses out there as well. So cool. Well, I just want to sort of wrap up then from there, Nico. Sure. So it's been a fantastic discussion and sort of some brilliant insights into what sort of makes that retail industry tick. And yeah, you're doing a fantastic job.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have to say, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you imagine that it was going to be that fun and interesting, or?
At first I did, because there was a lot look forward to. The roadmap that I had was like a 5-year roadmap. So this is going to be a fun trip. But it's actually become a lot more fun. There was no Snapchat when I started. So, based on that, it's probably my favorite app.
Good. Excellent. All right, cool. So for the listeners out there, I'll have all of this, the transcript and some of the notes and some of the key points as well that Nico has talked about on the digitaldelusion.com/podcast. You'll be able to also connect on Twitter as well. Nico's got his own cool name. It's at, and we'll have this on the site as well, just so that everybody gets it. But it's, if you want to write it down, it's at INC0GNICO. So incognito Nico.
Yes, that's it.
I love that. You must be an artist.
Somewhere in the past, maybe.
Yeah. Fantastic. Cool. So any other sort of final words you wanted to add, or?
No, this has been a great discussion. I always enjoyed this. So, it's been great. Look forward to the next time we can chat.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks again. We had Nico Wlock, for the digital strategist from Garage Clothing in Canada and worldwide. So thank you again, Nico. Really appreciate your time. And to everybody else, this is Doyle Bueller, and we'll see you online. Thank you very much for listening to Breaking Digital, the podcast for smart entrepreneurs wanting to become true digital leaders in their industry and to own online. If you have any comments on the program, please feel free to connect on Twitter at Doyle Bueller with the hashtag #OwnOnline. I would really appreciate it if you could share this podcast with your network, as I'm sure they will get some value from it for building their successful business online as well. You can find the resources that we talked about, as well as the transcript and full podcast for download on thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast or on iTunes or on SoundCloud. I'm Doyle Bueller, and I will see you online.
Thank you for listening to Breaking Digital with Doyle Bueller. While he goes and makes a sandwich, you can find all of the notes, links, and details on this podcast by visiting thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. Go on and click that now. www.thedigitaldelusion.com/podcast. I'll definitely click that. If you'd like a free copy of the book, The Digital Delusion, How to Overcome the Misguidance and Misinformation Online, just send an email to doyle@thedigitaldelusion.com. See you online.